Hello, this is Jason McManus with Business Imaging Systems, the creator of Grooper. Today, I wanted to show you a video of a new feature we have in a new version of Grooper that was just released this week. We're calling Grooper AI. We have several new features that are all AI related, hence the name. The one I want to focus on today is a new search capability that we've added to Grooper. It allows us to search for documents inside of Grooper, leveraging Lucene and OData. We can do metadata searches, full text searches. Some really cool, complicated stuff. But what I wanted to focus on today was our ability to expand that search offering to documents in ECM repositories outside of Grooper. Today, we're going to focus on a couple different platforms. One of those is a product called AppEnhancer, formerly AppXtender by OpenText. We also will be showcasing SharePoint from Microsoft. Box, which is an ECM cloud-based solution. And we will also show you some documents from Onbase, which is a product from a company called Highland. And then we will also be showing everyone's favorite, just random files that are stuck in a file store. And then, of course, we'll have some documents mixed in that will be inside of Grooper as well. So technically 6 repositories, 1 search. Your users could have to go very quickly and efficiently find documents inside their system. So we're going to start with application extender. So that's what we're looking at right now. And we've got a search screen in our invoices folder here. We can come in, do a new query, see that we've got quite a few documents out here. If we wanted to display one of those, we can use the AppXtender user experience here, come in, view a document. Now, by design, we have made sure that all these documents in their current state are not text searchable. So these are TIFFs. Or they could be non-text searchable PDF images that are stored out there because we want to show off our OCR capabilities in this presentation. You will notice that we do have some metadata fields over here to the right in AppXtender. That's what an AX user would use to go query and find documents today. But if there was data that they needed that was not included in the metadata or something physically printed on the documents, especially something handwritten, cursive, something like that, those users would have a difficult time finding that information. And that's the problem we want to solve. That's what we're trying to do with this presentation. Make all this text searchable, leverage these new search techniques to go find this information. So that's AppXtender. Here's Onbase as well. So same thing. We've got some invoices that have been stuck out here in what SharePoint calls a document library. We can come in here and we can view one of these. We have some limited metadata associated with those. I think PO number and invoice number were the items we collected. But again, all we have here are PDF images that are not text searchable. Very little metadata associated with these. So, be difficult to get to what we're looking for. We also have a folder inside of Box, and I want to mention that Box is a very powerful ECM platform when it comes to searching for documents. It allows metadata templates, it allows for full text search, it supports things like natural language query, but in today's demo, I'm not showing off any of those. This is for a folder in Box where some users have just stuffed a bunch of TIFF images in there. There's no metadata associated with them. There's no full text to use the natural language query capabilities of Box against. It's just raw images, and in this case, it's not even pretty images. Ugly, dirty, nasty stuff, handwritten information, dirty backgrounds. That's what we want to show off today. That's where we really excel and shine. So here you've got an ugly old invoice here inside of a Box with, if I expose the metadata, there is none. And again, that was by design for today's presentation, not a limitation of Box, but wanting to show off what we can do with files that might not be indexed or might not be text searchable in the Box environment. And then we've also got Onbase. So with Onbase, they have a client they call Unity. That's what we're showing right here. And I can click around and, again, see some images. These are TIFFs. They're not text searchable. Handwritten information. We're going to be able to search for all these different documents, all this different information, very little metadata, again, by design, so that we could show off what you can do when you have these types of environments. And then the last is, FileShare. So here we've got, a large document set where we've got a bunch of invoices that we just stuck out here in this file room. Again, ugly images. These came from a public data set that I found online. A lot of them were from the 70s and 80s. Scanning technology, filming technology wasn't what it is today back then. So they're not the best images, which historically has been a challenge for OCR engines. You're going to see today it's not a problem for us. So we've got our 5 repositories, application extender, SharePoint, Onbase, Box, and a FileShare here. And now that we know where our images came from, what can we do with those? So I'm going to show you that right now. So you're looking at Grooper AI. So this is our latest release of Grooper. Can very easily go connect it to all these different repositories because we have pre-built connectors for everything we've mentioned today, along with hundreds of others that we can go connect to. So if I come in here and just do a blank search, right now we have 22,503 search results. So between those 5 repositories, I guess 6 if you want to count Grooper, because some of these invoices are stored in Grooper as well. That's how many invoices that we have out there. That's not pages, that's invoices that we have out there. And I can come in here and click on any one of these and see the image. And these images are not stored in Grooper. That is the really cool thing here. We don't have to create a duplicate copy of these documents. We can do what's called in-memory processing. We can collect the text, use the text for our queries, but when we actually go to display these, we're pulling them from the original source. So we can use Grooper for migrations. We can move the data from one repository to another, but what we're trying to show off today is the ability to not have to move anything around. So now that we've got access to the text, the full text off of these, the metadata and everything else, what can we do with it? Well, notice one, as I'm looking at these images, this is one that I believe came from the file store. It has a vendor name, it has an invoice number, it has an invoice date, and a ship to address. Well, we used a Grooper technique we call AI extract, and I'm going to do a different video on that. That one would take too long to combine these. So as Grooper processes these, you can use the AI extract, which leverages AI, leverages LLMs, and we have the ability to tune LLMs to go collect this data. So this didn't exist before it got into Grooper. Now I can use those fields to go find documents. So let's just say I want to come up here to the search window, and I want to find all the documents for vendors for Enid Parts and Dell, the 2 vendors that I want to query. Well, I don't know how to write Lucene syntax. So what I can do is just come over here and click on this little icon and just type in natural language. So I'll type in, find all invoices where the vendor name equals Enid Parts or Dell, and then just hit OK. And it will auto build the syntax I need, and I can save these queries as well. I don't have to type it every time. So it comes in and says vendor name equals Enid Parts or Dell. Do a query, and boom, there we go. We have 12 out of the 20,000+ that we had out there where the vendor name is either Enid Parts or Dell. And again, as I'm clicking through these, some are coming from Onbase, some are coming from SharePoint, some are coming from Box, all those different sources that we mentioned earlier. So I can very quickly and easily query through. Once I find one, I can see all the metadata associated with it. I can open it up in its own viewer if I wanted to. But what else can we do? What are some of the cool things that we can do with these? Well, it's not always going to be as simple as just find everything for Enid Parts or Dell. What if I want to find all the invoices associated with specific zip codes and maybe over certain dollar amounts? So instead of going in and typing in my syntax, which I could, or using my little AI helper there, I've actually got this one saved, and I called it zip codes and total amounts. And I went in and used my little AI helper up here and said, find all invoices where the ship to address contains this zip code. And I typed in 4, and the total amount field is greater than $100,000. Do a search. So again, 29 results out of 20,000+. And on every one of these, if I click it open and look at the image, I should see, so here we see that the zip code is 27102 on the image. And if I look up here, 27102 is the zip code that we put in our query screen. We also told it that the total amount had to be greater than 100,000. Well, let's scroll down to the bottom. Notice estimated cost $140,000, which is in fact greater than $100,000. Every one of the items in this hit list will be true for all of these items that we've put up here. So again, different ways you can query through and find stuff. But what about full text? And what about that handwritten information that you might want to go find? We didn't collect it as part of one of our fields, but we know somebody wrote it on a document somewhere. So I've got the ability to just key in a value. And notice I put parentheses around this. That means exact phrase. It's got to be exactly like this on the document. Now, with Lucene, it will account for things like OCR errors, where maybe a space got missed, or it can even account for issues with like characters that get converted inaccurately. But here I do a search for that exact phrase. I come in here and look at this document, and there we go, 059535015804, and there's the value. Let's rerun it. Let's turn our include highlights on. It looks a little better when we do that. And this time, when we display it, notice it highlights the values that I'm querying. So all you have to do is turn this checkbox on. Apologize, I didn't have that on earlier. But you see, handwritten information on a document. So querying 20,000+ images for text on them that meets this criteria. And we found one page out of all those pages out there where that search criteria was met. It took me directly to it. It highlighted it. So visually as a user, I can see the data that I'm looking for very quickly and very easily. Well, let's do some more searches. So, what are some of the other things that we might look for? Well, one of the ones that I did that I thought was really cool is I flipped through these invoices, and these are invoices I found in a public data set. I noticed that there was a lot of references to both tobacco companies and to Major League Baseball teams. And I believe this data might have been a part of a public, class action lawsuit at some point in time. But I was curious. I wonder how many of these contain references to Major League Baseball team mascots. So again, I use my AI helper up here, and I just typed in natural language, find all the documents that reference a Major League Baseball team's mascot. There should be 30 total. That was the syntax I typed in, or the language I typed in, and it built this syntax. I didn't have to type in Giants, Padres, Dodgers. I didn't have to type any of this in. It knew who the Major League Baseball mascots were, built the syntax for me automatically. And when I do a search now, out of the 20,000+, I find 977 that reference a Major League Baseball team's mascot. If I click on one, you'll see Anaheim Angels, Cincinnati Reds. We can go through as many of these as you want. They're all going to have a reference on them at somewhere of these Major League Baseball mascots. Again, just a different way of very quickly and efficiently querying through and finding information, doing your searches in natural language, but being able to leverage things like Lucene and OData without knowing those syntaxes, without knowing as a user how to create those things, just using your AI helper to go build it for you automatically. And again, as we put these records in, we didn't do any extractors. We just used our AI extract technique to collect the vendor name, invoice number, all this information. Our OCR converts everything. It doesn't matter if it's machine print, hand print, whatever, in allowing users to query and find these things. What about just really ugly data? So here I've got one, a value that I found, did a search for, where the original image was actually a microfilm image. If you look at this, and I can tell by the bottom of it. I've been doing this for a while. I've worked with film before, and this number on the bottom, this inverted print on the bottom of this, is something they use in microfilm, typically to indicate the roll and the frame that this particular image was stored on. It even tells you over on the left that this is an ugly image. It's less clear than it should be due to the quality of the original that was being filmed. We were able to 100% accurately convert that inverted text, be able to search for it, and this is all instant. I didn't have to wait a long time for this to process, but before I could do the, execute my searches. I'm not actually querying the files, I'm storing the text separately and very quickly and efficiently being able to search and then link back to the original image, which again, could be in Grooper, could be in Onbase, could be in SharePoint, Box, AppXtender, FileShare. It doesn't matter. The users don't need to know. Now you can tell where the original source image is just by going to the properties, if you choose to do so. But again, our goal here is one seamless experience for your users to be able to go query documents effectively through full text or metadata queries or combinations of both from multiple sources and get one hit list and be able to view it. And then once you get a hit list, let's go back to let's just do our vendor name contain. So we've got one on here for just Enid. and we ended up with, a couple. Once we get a hit list, you can actually come down here and you can download these if you wanted to email them, distribute them. You also can create a new batch. So if I wanted to put them in a different location in Grooper, I could do so, or download them to Grooper. But I also, within the create batch option, have the ability to generate AI-based reports. So again, through natural language, I could go in and say, build an HTML aging report for these invoices and include these things in it, and it'll spit that out. Or I could tell it to build a JSON report or an XML report, whatever format I want. I can even give it samples of the JSON file, samples of the XML file. It will auto-generate those things directly, from our hit list here. So it's a new feature. We think it's a really valuable tool. There's a lot of things that we can do with this, but today, again, I wanted to show off our ability to connect to different repositories, apply one search, be able to full text against images that were not text searchable in the original location. And we're not changing those original images. I'm not going back and replacing them with a different document type. I'm not taking TIFFs and replacing them with text searchable PDFs, even though we're making them text searchable inside of Grooper. And there's a lot of value in those things. So again, this is Jason McManus. If you'd like to learn more about Grooper, any of the new features, not just the search capability, just feel free to go to our website, grooper.com. That's grooper.com. And you can request more information, a demo, consultation with one of our specialists, anything like that. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to chat with you a little bit more about how your organization might can use one of these new features. Thank you. Appreciate your time. Bye-bye.